Hello, and welcome to BSB Must Reads, where we tell you all the books you must be reading every month. Today, I have with me esteemed author Gun Brooke. Hi, Gun.
Hi, nice to be here.
So we are here to discuss your latest release. What number book is this for you now?
It's the 30th book.
30 books. Wow, that's an incredible achievement. How does that make you feel, 30 books in?
30 books is surreal, but it feels good.
That's crazy. Do you think there'll be 30 more?
No, I don't know. No, I doubt it. Not 30 maybe, but a few more.
No, I don't know. You've got a few more to catch up to Radcliffe. I think it could happen.
Oh, well, when you put it that way. Okay. All right.
A little bit of competition there. Awesome. All right, so we are here to discuss the Amaranthine Law, which I'm super excited to hear about. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself if they don't know of you yet, although I can't imagine how that could be. And then a little bit about your book, and I would love to hear you read.
Okay, well, my pen name is Gun Brooke, and I'm live in Sweden. And I love writing, and I've always written. And to live your dream like this and just have all my mind goals come to life is great. So, and the Amaranthine Law is my first slightly paranormal book, which is heavily focused on romance. And it's about Tristan, who owns an art restoration company. And she has a secret, and that's she's more than 250 years old. She doesn't know why she has lived this long. She ages very slowly. And Liv Bryce is her latest paid intern. And she finds herself very attracted to this girl, who is much younger, obviously. And the scene that I'm going to read is about when, on Liv's first day, when they're working on restoring a painting together. Tristan examines the edges of the painting. We'll have to flatten the canvas first before we can do anything about the back. How would you do this? I'd cut off a piece of silicone release paper and use it between the back of the canvas and a small tacking iron to flatten the edges. Liv holds her breath as she waits for Tristan's response, even though she knows her answer is correct. Exactly. Get what you need. Tristan lifts the stretcher off the floor. I'll give this to Paul. He's our wood guy and works in another room with frames, stretchers, and such. Should I wait for you before I start? No, I'll be right back. Just mind the heat setting. Tristan walks off with the stretcher, and Liv hurries over to the part of the room where supplies are stored. She finds what she needs and is cutting off the silicone release paper when someone says her name. She turns around, and the smiling Graham is standing behind her, holding large scissors. Great minds think alike, Graham says, and motions with his head toward the paper. Oh, you can have this, Liv says, and hands him her rectangle she just cut. Thank you. Graham remains beside her as she cuts another rectangle. I see you get your hands dirty right away. Yes, questioningly. Liv turns around after finishing. Makes me wonder what skills you possess that no other newbies here did on their first day. Marlena had to watch only for several days, the others even longer. And here you are, getting materials, fetching tools. Tristan wanted me to start the flattening process. Confused, Liv blinks. I did ask. She's not big on questions, our boss. So let's see. You get to start working on an important piece, and she didn't bite your head off for asking questions. He smirks, but his gaze is still kind. Walking back to the table, Liv plugs in the tacking iron. How am I supposed to learn if I can't ask questions? That doesn't make sense. Exactly. do share, Graham. Can that possibly be the case? Tristan shows up behind Graham, making him startled. He chuckles and shakes his head. Please, I've been here long enough to know where all the skeletons are buried, Tristan. You never let your interns work on a painting on the first day. I'm just curious what talents Liv has that the rest of us didn't. His eyes sparkle as he regards Tristan. Instead of getting annoyed, which Liv feared she might, Tristan rolls her eyes and flicks her fingers at Graham. You ridiculous man. What skeletons? There has to be at least one. Remember that intern that figured it was a good idea to use sandpaper from the wood shop on a painting? We never saw or heard from him again, Graham says and rubs his chin. Exhibit A. He was fired, and I made sure he never worked in fine art restoration again. Tristan speaks mildly. Right, sure, Graham laughs. I'll get out of your hair. See you at lunch, Liv. Yes, absolutely, thank you. Liv nods and then checks the attacking iron. It's the right heat. Still want me to continue? She isn't sure after what Graham just said, joking or not. You heard, Graham. Enough with the questions that forced me to repeat myself. Tristan watches intently as Liv begins flattening the canvas. Liv works with her usual complete focus, moving the tools along the edges of the canvas, careful to apply only the exact pressure. She is almost done when someone speaks Tristan's name in a curt British accent, startling Liv just as she's lowering the iron. Afraid of dropping it on the back of the canvas, she fumbles to get a better grip and feels it singe her skin on the outside of her left index finger. Whimpering, she puts the iron down where it can't hurt anything or anyone and is lifting her hand to examine the burn when someone yanks her by the arm, dragging her over to the sink. Tristan lets the faucet run and then shoves Liv's hand under the cool water. How bad, she asks, her voice not cool at all anymore. Still on the low register, it's a definite growl. I'm so sorry, Liv gushes, blinking to get the tears out of her lashes. I wasn't prepared. That's never happened to me before, I swear. So certain she has screwed up enough for Tristan to do what she did to that guy with the sandpaper, she feels her stomach tremble. Dana should know better. Tristan whips her head around and stares at her assistant. What could possibly be so important that you couldn't be more careful? You have a call from the Louvre in Paris. Dana stares at Tristan and then Liv's hand. I apologize. I will call them back. Tristan is still holding Liv's wrist, forcing her to keep her fingers under the running water. I can manage, Tristan, Liv says, knowing full well everyone is looking at them. I will call them back. Tristan's voice is barely audible and Dana scurries away. This is why we don't have cell phones in the workshop. We can't have anyone flinching or dropping things or injuries. Tristan bends to examine Liv's fingers, but doesn't remove them from the water. We caught it in time, I think. A little while longer under the faucet and then cool spray. Eventually, Tristan lets go and tears off some paper towel, handing it to her. Now let me see. She is singularly inspecting Liv's injury, and what can she do but hold her finger up to be examined? It stings a little bit, but not at all as bad as it did. Here, first aid box. Marlena shows up with a large plastic container and then returns to her table, but only after gently patting Liv's shoulder. Tristan applies the cool spray and then bandages it. It's pink, but no blisters as far as I can tell. The lidocaine and aloe vera in the spray will help. Thank you. Liv leans against the counter. That got way more dramatic than was called for. I'm normally not clumsy around my work. May I finish? Tristan blinks. But your hand? It's much better. Thanks for your quick reaction. Liv would have done the same for her hand, but to be honest, it would have taken her longer. I'd like to finish it before we move on to the next step. Very well, just be very careful. Tristan seems pensive as they return to the table. Not that it's any of my business, Liv says as she remembers the reason for Dana showing up in the first place. Don't you need to go call the Louvre? She checks her time. I mean, it's already 4 p.m. there. Tristan stops immediately. Perhaps too much drama even for me, she mutters and leaves the workshop. As I said, Graham calls out from his table, what sorcery do you possess, Liv Bryce?
Ooh, I like that. Great parting line there. I can't decide if that's my favorite line or that got way more dramatic than was called for. Which can be applied to so many things in life, I think.
I know.
That was perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so this book is like part paranormal, part run for your life thriller, part romance. Did you throw anything else in there?
No, that's about it. I think.
Okay, that's enough for one book. So what inspired this?
I could say though that it's very international, which was fun. I move around through many countries during their run for their life.
Oh, nice. Oh,
yes.
I like that. So tell us what inspired you to write this one.
The thing is, every Christmas or December, I usually do an Advent fan fiction story for my website. It's been a tradition for almost 20 years. And last time I did that, when that story was over, I still had the itch to keep writing fan fiction. And so this story started out as a fan fiction, but developed a life of its own that was entirely original. And then Rad gave me the evil eye at one of our conversation on Zoom that such long stories shouldn't be fan fiction.
Oh, it does sound like her, actually.
Just like her exact words was, I didn't hear that, Gun. It's like, whoops. So, and honestly, several of the people reading it said that it deserved to be its own book. So I took their advice and submitted the story. And I'm really glad I did.
Awesome. I love that. I love that you got encouragement from multiple sources there for multiple reasons. So if people want to check out your fanfic, where do they go? They
go to either my website, which is gbrooke-fiction.com, or they can search for Redhead Girl 1960 on Archive of Our Own.
Nice. All right. If you want to check out Gun's fanfic, some of which may become novels one day, read it and weigh in with your opinion, because she you never know.
I can be persuaded.
So Tristan is kind of an interesting character, because, and I'm not giving anything away because this isn't the blurb, but she's not your average 40-year-old woman, right? She's actually over 200 years old and just looks really good for her age.
Yes.
So what sort of things did you have to consider when you crafted a character who's been alive that long?
Well, there is a lot of, apart from the whole mental issue, which is a thing for itself, it's also logistically to make it reasonably realistic that what do you have to do to not get caught? Because that is one of the things she fears, is getting caught, that she's lived for this long. And I'm not giving away the plot either by saying she's not a vampire. So this is not a vampire story. and so no one's disappointed if that's what they think it is, and if they love vampire story. This is not that. But also the mental aspect of what a person how society suddenly regards a person who doesn't seem to age, or if they do, it's very slowly. And especially back in the late 1700s, when witch hunts were rampant. And so I did a lot of research, actually, both historically and about try to place myself really in that situation. And it's, some people might on the surface regard it as something, oh, longevity or even being immortal, perhaps. How cool. But is it really? And you keep losing people.
Yeah.
You have to keep reinventing yourself, and it's hard.
Yeah, and I imagine if it's a secret too, then it would be difficult for her to have relationships with people, right?
Exactly.
You know, because if you're not aging or you're aging very slowly, at some point they're going to be like, huh?
Yes.
So
You look great and I look very
right. Yeah, what's going on here? And you have to move constantly, I guess, for the same reason, right?
Exactly. So that this is true.
Interesting. So I mean, you read a great scene, I think, where we really saw the connection between Tristan and Liv. In your opinion, given that there are kind of several elements of this story that a person would not necessarily encounter in their everyday life, right? You have a character who, for non-vampiric reasons, is over 200 years old. You have a run for your life kind of plot, which hopefully none of us will ever encounter. But I think your romance is really relatable. I mean, that's the part of the story where the readers can see themselves in these characters. What is it about their love story that you think readers are going to relate to?
That is an interesting question.
Sorry, I should have prepped you, shouldn't I?
Yeah, should have prepped me. No, but I think it's love is love. And if you fall head over heels and are completely mesmerized by someone who, as for Liv, this is her dream to work for this woman with this art restoration company. And she has, of course, tried to Google her, and like you do with potential employers and so on, and is awestruck even to begin with. But then she finds the very human part of Tristan, who obviously has her demons. But we can all have those. We don't have to be 200 plus years old or have, we all have secrets. We all have something that we fear will prevent us forever from being happy and finding love and having a future with someone. What might separate Tristan is that she's certain of it. She's certain that a future with Liv is impossible, while Liv is young and idealistic and ready to walk through fire for this woman that she has fallen for so hard from the beginning. And so I think that is relatable.
Yeah, I think the emotional side is something that we can all relate to, and we all do have those fears. You know, I think Tristan's are heightened by her circumstances, and we may not experience it in the same way, but I think we all do have our own version of those.
Exactly.
Of those things. Awesome. Well, please do check out the Amaranthine Law, which is out November 1st on the Bold Strokes website. And I don't remember, November 15th, right? Smack dab in the middle of the month, November 15th. Everywhere books are sold. Thank you so much, Gun. This has been a pleasure.
This was fun. Thank you.